Warning. Spoilers for House of the Dragon. The House of the Dragon character ages will be necessary to keep track of as Season 1 progresses. After its prologue opening, House of the Dragon's first episode is set 9 years into King Viserys, Paddy Considine, reign and 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. According to House of the Dragon's source material Fire and Blood, King Jaehaerys I died in 103 AC, 2 years after the Great Council. If Viserys' reign begins that same year, the first House of the Dragon episode is set in 112 AC. House of the Dragon's first season is yet to time jump even further to the beginning of the infamous Westerosi civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons, which begins in 129 AC. Leading up to this conflict is the strife between potential successors, one of whom is King Viserys' chosen heir Rhaenyra Targaryen, Millie Alcock. Other important House of the Dragon characters leading up to the conflict are Daemon Targaryen, Matt Smith, who, as King Viserys' brother, becomes heavily involved in the matter of succession, Rhaenys Velaryon, Eve Best, wife of Corlys Velaryon, Steve Toussaint, and who, as King Jaehaerys' oldest living heir at the Great Council of 101, had a better claim to the throne than King Viserys, and Alicent Hightower, Emily Carey, who is the daughter of Otto Hightower, Rhys Ifans, Hand of the King. House of the Dragon begins in 112 AC to show how the massive conflict it builds up to takes several years to develop. One of the highlights of its parent show Game of Thrones was the political complexities happening in the court, which House of the Dragon will show in detail under the ruling Targaryens. That said, with the House of the Dragon's long timeline, it's important to track the characters' ages throughout the season's progress. How old Rhaenyra Targaryen is in House of the Dragon. Rhaenyra Targaryen is King Viserys' only living heir and his chosen successor for the throne. In Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra's birth year is stated to be 97 AC, making her 4 years old by the time of the Great Council of 101. However, during the Great Council scene in House of the Dragon, her mother Aemma Arryn, Sian Brooke, is visibly pregnant. Aemma recalls to Viserys her 2 stillbirths and her baby who died in the cradle. Perhaps her pregnancy during the Great Council tragically resulted in one of these situations. In this case, in 112 AC, Rhaenyra would be 15. However, it's assumed that Aemma is pregnant with Rhaenyra at the Great Council, making Rhaenyra 11 in 112 AC. Whether she's 15 or 11 in the show, young Rhaenyra is played by 22-year-old Millie Alcock. House of the Dragon's Rhaenyra Targaryen will play an increasingly important role. With that, the time jump will be visible. When the show jumps to 129 AC, the first official year of the Dance of the Dragons, the adult Rhaenyra will be between 28 and 32 years old. Adult Rhaenyra is played by 30-year-old Emma Darcy. How old Daemon Targaryen is in House of the Dragon. Daemon Targaryen is Viserys' younger brother, making him and Rhaenyra both legitimate claims as Viserys' successor. However, after the death of Viserys' son Baelor shortly after birth, Daemon loses his claim to the throne after sardonically naming Baelor the heir for a day and enraging Viserys. However, along with his violent and capricious nature making him an unfavorable candidate for king, Daemon's House of the Dragon feud with Otto Hightower made his claim to the throne contested for some time before his insensitive comments. According to Fire and Blood, Daemon was born in 81 AC, making him 31 in House of the Dragon's first episode. By 129 AC, Daemon will be 48. Playing Daemon is 38-year-old Matt Smith. How old Viserys Targaryen is in House of the Dragon. Viserys Targaryen is a generally amiable king who tries to avoid causing any tension. When his council urges him to quickly secure a successor for the throne after his queen and son die, Viserys chooses his daughter Rhaenyra as his heir, even though Westerosi lords will disapprove of a female successor. Fire and Blood set Viserys' birth year as 77 AC, making him 4 years older than his brother, Daemon. However, House of the Dragon aged Viserys up a bit, as Paddy Considine is 48 years old. By 129 AC, House of the Dragon's Viserys will be in his mid-60s. How old Corlys Velaryon is in House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon's Velaryon family has been a strong ally to House Targaryen since their days in Old Valyria. Settling on the island Driftmark, which rests just southwest of Dragonstone, the Velaryons are known for their seafaring. Nicknamed the Sea Snake, Corlys Velaryon is a famous explorer who made the Velaryons one of the richest houses in Westeros, richer at times than even the Lannisters. In House of the Dragon, Corlys Velaryon serves on King Viserys' council as his master of ships. In Fire and Blood, Corlys Velaryon was born in 53 AC, making him 59 in 112 AC and 76 by the end of House of the Dragon Season 1. Corlys actor Steve Toussaint is 57, putting his age perfectly in line with his book counterpart. How old Rhaenys Velaryon is in House of the Dragon. Rhaenys Velaryon was King Jaehaerys' oldest living heir at the time of the Great Council, and therefore had the higher claim to the throne. However, Rhaenys lost the throne to Viserys because of her womanhood and her half-Baratheon parentage, compared to Viserys' full Targaryen blood. For this reason, Rhaenys is considered the queen who never was. Rhaenys Velaryon was aged up in House of the Dragon to close the significant age gap between her and her husband Corlys. In Fire and Blood, Rhaenys was born in 74 AC, making her 21 years younger than Corlys. However, in House of the Dragon, the actress playing Rhaenys is 51-year-old Eve Best. Her age change aligns with her being the elder heir to House of the Dragon's Viserys, was in his late 40s early 50s. By Season 1's end, Rhaenys would align with Corlys' age range and be in her 70s. How old Alicent Hightower is in House of the Dragon. Another significant family in House of the Dragon is House Hightower. The Hightowers come from Old Town, famous in Westeros for being the location of the Citadel, the headquarters for the Mesters, where they develop their qualifications, and the Starry September, which heads the Faith of the Seven. Alicent Hightower is Otto Hightower's daughter and Rhaenyra's best friend in House of the Dragon. Her role will be more significant in the eventual Dance of the Dragons. In Fire and Blood, Alicent is 9 years older than Rhaenyra. However, in House of the Dragon, the age gap is closed a bit more. Playing young Alicent is 19-year-old Emily Carey, was compatible in age with the 22-year-old Alcock. In Season 1, there will be a House of the Dragon recast prompting time jump that only apply to Rhaenyra and Alicent. Playing adult Alicent is 28-year-old Olivia Cook, who again is age compatible with the 30-year-old Darcy playing adult Rhaenyra. How old Otto Hightower is in House of the Dragon. Otto Hightower is King Viserys' hand. He is older in House of the Dragon to align with his age contemporaries, Rhaenys, Corlys, and Viserys. In Fire and Blood, Otto Hightower was born in 76 AC, making him 36 in 112 AC. However, his House of the Dragon actor Rhys Ifans is 55 years old. Ages of other House of the Dragon characters: Laenor and Lena Velaryon, they are Rhaenys and Corlys' children. In Fire and Blood, Laenor, Theonate, John Macmillan, is Rhaenyra's first husband, having 3 questionably legitimate heirs with her. Laenor's sister Lena, Savannah Stane, Nana Blondell, is 2 years older than him and rides the largest living dragon in Westeros, Vhagar. Lena also becomes Daemon Targaryen's second wife. They're around Rhaenyra and Alicent's age. Sir Criston Cole, beating Daemon in House of the Dragon's tourney. Sir Criston Cole is a skilled fighter who eventually becomes the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. He comes from no official house. In House of the Dragon, Hess from Dorne. Playing him is 28-year-old Fabian Frankel. Mysaria, nicknamed Lady Misery, Mysaria is a Lacine dancer who becomes Demon's paramour and unofficial mistress of Whisperers. Chess played by the 36-year-old Sonoya Mizuno. Lionel Strong. Lord of Harrenhal, Lionel Strong, Gavin Spokes, is King Viserys' Master of Laws and briefly replaces Otto Hightower as Hand of the King. Hess around the same age as King Viserys and Otto Hightower. Lyman Beesbury, currently a relatively minor House of the Dragon supporting character, Lyman Beesbury, Bill Patterson, served King Jaehaerys and King Viserys as Master of Coin. He objects to Rhaenyra's succession and is killed mysteriously for it in Fire and Blood. Hess in his late 70s early 80s. House of the Dragon releases new episodes Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on HBO.